Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Orin Malcolm from JMMB, and he's going to share with us, his organization's experience in the evolving information security challenges and initiatives that they have taken. Over to you now, Orin.
Morning, everybody. All right. Just a little bit about me. Been involved in IT for around approximately 12 years, 7 of which have been in IT security. I've worked as database administrator, network administrator, systems administrator, and information security. Now, through this time, I've been able to see the internet evolve, and with that evolution, basically what has happened is it has introduced new risks, which we all need to be aware of. Now, the need for cybersecurity. Really, we have become somewhat dependent on the internet today. So that's one reason there. More organizations have an internet presence. More organizations are doing transactions online. Today, internet scams and frauds are rampant. Cyber theft is a common cybercrime that we're seeing today. And now we have organized groups of persons, not just one person trying to do something. We have persons out there who are organized, and their objective is to reap financial gains from online systems. Now, when I say online system, it doesn't necessarily mean a system like a web server or something like that. It means any system that has access to the internet running even a web browser, when I say online system. Now, it's important for us to understand the evolution of what is termed as malware. So malware is basically malicious software. In the early 2000s thereabout, malware was predominantly a nuisance, annoyance. Usually if you got infected with a virus, it wasn't seeking to steal any information. It was more making the system slow, not operational, etc. Now, by antivirus vendors back then were able to keep abreast of those types of threats because they were static, they weren't changing, so they were able to manage back then quite well. Now, by 2006, 2007, those same malware now kind of evolved into something a little bit more malicious. Now you saw the introduction of centralization, so meaning if I infect your machine, I can control it centrally. If I infect 1,000 machines, I can control 1,000 of them from one location. Now, with this whole evolution, what it has done is it has created a thriving underground community of you have developers who develop these kind of software. You have persons who are specialists in trying to get it on your systems, on your computers. You have persons who specialize in moving money around. So you call them money mules, as Vision had alluded to earlier. So how do they manage to infect our systems? Focus was really on you're trying to protect the perimeter all the time. So you have your firewalls, you have your intrusion prevention system, you have a whole range of technology trying to protect the perimeter. What has happened now with web browsers? So almost all systems now have a web browser. If your users have access to the internet, then right away they present a risk to you. Because how these malware actually work now is that they attack the browser, the plugins that run in the browser. So let's say, for example, Adobe Flash, Java, or PDF. So they affect that kind of, so once your systems are not up to date, meaning you're running your software updates, etc., then it has a risk associated with it. So now, how does this whole malware work? So the developers or the creators of malware, they have now what is called exploit packs or kits. So these are basically viruses, Trojans, adware, spyware, all packaged in one software solution. So this is a software solution. As if you'd buy something from Microsoft, the underground community has this packaged, and they actually have end user license agreement, so believe it or not. So just to share with you, if you were to breach the end user license agreement of one of these software packs, one of the, the penalties would be they would take your code and report it to the antivirus vendor. So that means your malware now would become detectable by software vendors. So that was just kind of very funny to me, that it would actually have that kind of thing built in. Now, in the past, this kind of software was very static. So it was very easy for you to detect it. Now it's ever changing. So every time I buy something, I'm getting new code. If I release it out in the wild, the next time I release it, it can be something different, right? So what that does is the antivirus vendors now are having a hard time playing catch up, because this thing is polymorphic, it's ever changing, and of course it's also obfuscated. So if you're, most people may not know how antivirus works, but it scans certain layers, certain levels within a file to find something malicious. Based on your obfuscation, if you bring it down far enough, then the antivirus vendors are not going to, because it takes a long time, eat up resources, etc. So now I'm selling the software to anybody. So no longer is there a need for me to be technical. I don't need to know anything. I just need to buy a software and understand how the software works. Just like you'd understand how Word works. I don't need to know the technical knowledge of, you could say buffer overflows or anything technical. I just need to know point and click and tell it what I want to do. And it's actually more modular now. So let's say, for example, I buy a kit to send spam. So initially I'm sending spam, right? I need to get into an organization. So I'm targeting organization. I'm sending spam, so we're doing social engineering or phishing attacks. Now, once persons start clicking on that link, I have a link in there to say, hey, executive payroll. Right, persons may be inquisitive, want to see how much executives get paid. So you click on the link, it goes out to a malicious website that I have set up. So the link isn't really the executives pay, it's a malicious link. Now, once your browser goes out to that link, without your knowledge, once you're not running up-to-date software, right? Once you go to that link, automatically, without your authorization, I can download and install this threat onto your computer. Once this threat is loaded onto your computer, it is now what you term as a bot or a robot, meaning that it can respond to commands sent externally, right? Now, Vijan had mentioned something earlier which struck me. Low-value assets versus high-value assets. Now, usually you're going to put up greater defenses around your servers, your critical servers, etc. You tend maybe not to be as aggressive with your workstations. Now, when I get onto that one workstation, I'm going to use it as what you call a pivot point. So that's where I'm going to start my attack from. Then I'm going to try and scan your network, find out where you have the sensitive information that I'm probably interested in. Right? Once I do that, then I try to find other ways to get into those systems. So the RSA breach, which happened, I think, in 2010 or 2011, it was just one in the RSA, which is a security company, a security organization, which has very mature security processes, etc. It was just one user clicking on a link in an email that caused that entire breach. So we just need to be cognizant of the fact that your users are very, very, very important to the overall security posture of the organization. And you need to make sure that they are fully aware of how to behave within your environment. So as the players in cybercrime now really are, one, you have the developers, right? So they develop the malicious software. Two, you have what are called herders. So these can be developers as well. So what these persons are responsible for doing is finding a way to infect as much persons as possible, right? So they'll set up the fake websites. They'll scan. All right. Another thing that to be very, you should actually know about. If it doesn't necessarily have to be a malicious website. Within every website, you have certain applications and modules running, right? If there's a vulnerability in a module running on your website, let's say, for example, your CNN.com is vulnerable to something, I can inject code into CNN.com, right? That in turn infects anybody that accesses CNN.com. So that's very, very important. So it doesn't have to be some site that you don't know about. It can be sites that I actually do business with that have this kind of threat running on it, and probably the owners don't even know that it's there. So yeah, the herders are responsible for infecting as much persons as possible. Also, you may want to, as a herder, you may outsource that as well, you know. So it's really a business. They have a business model. So you may outsource that to what you call a partner, who he gets paid per install. So he gets paid based on the number of installs he's able to carry out, right? So you can say these persons are very, very motivated, right? And of course, you have the money mules. So they are very smart as well. You're not going to steal some money and wire directly into your own bank account. You're going to want some intermediary points, so it's more difficult to track because different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations, etc., as to access to information. So you make it as difficult as possible by having intermediary points before it gets to the final destination bank account. Now, just to give you some figures here, Black Hole, which is now predominantly the most used, widely used exploit kit, it retails for $1,500 for an annual license, right? This includes your software updates and for the duration of the contract. So you get your regular software updates as you would with any other software program that you buy. Now, this is very important. The author also sells a hosted solution. So no, this is funny, but it's very serious. So now you can get, it's called crimeware as a service. So no, you don't need to set up anything. You just go. It's actually $200 a week, $500 a month US to actually use the service. So I'm saying you just go and you purchase and you start using. You don't need to know anything about the technology behind it, really. All right? Now, seeing all of this happening, what we have had to do is, one, in your organization, you need to ensure that there's a role that is looking into security, an information security specialist. This is not the person who is your network administrator. You just tag some security thing onto him to say, all right, no, you're the security specialist, right? This is somebody dedicated who is going to keep up with the current trends, because the cyber world is so ever evolving. It changes so rapidly. You have to have focus on it, or else you're going to get left behind, right? And that leaving behind can really affect your bottom line. Now, we here in the Caribbean, we don't have as big an IT budget as, let's say, first world countries. So it's very important. We're not going to be able to develop all the capabilities internally. So it's very important that you create partnerships with security specialists, right? Persons who have developed the resources internally and have become somewhat mature on different information security processes, which my friends PALADION have done over the years. Now, so one thing you need to do, you need to be monitoring for threats and vulnerabilities constantly. That should be 24. So your firewall, your intrusion prevention system, that needs to be monitored, I would say at least on a 24-hour basis. That is going to be difficult knowing our own culture, etc. So that capability you can actually outsource, right? Because you have security operations centers that run 24 hours, 365, right? So what is important is usually we would place a focus on what's coming into our networks. For me, it's almost as important to ensure that you know what's leaving your network, right? Because how these things work is once I get onto your network, I need a way to exfiltrate the data. I have to use your infrastructure to do it. So it's important to know what my workstations, what my servers, what are they trying to communicate with on the internet, right? So you have persons who, these security operations centers, they have developed the capability, they know the blacklisted websites or IP addresses. They basically specialize in this kind of monitoring. Even your website, your own website, you need to ensure that it isn't infected or spreading these kind of things to your own clients. So you need to at least have some kind of vulnerability assessment being done daily on your own website, because you could be your own problem. You need to educate users. Very, very important on the changing threat landscape. You then need to know that you don't reply, you don't click on links. If you're not expecting an attachment from somebody, even somebody you know, you don't open that attachment. So this kind of education needs to be built into your own information security management system. Again, antivirus is not enough. The threats are ever evolving. You need to do what is called a layered defense approach. So let's, for example, your email system. Have someone externally scan it before it gets to you. Once it gets to you, you're doing a secondary scan again. You have virus protection on your computers as well. You may even think of putting intrusion prevention on your workstations themselves. So an integrated platform that has antivirus, intrusion prevention, and browser detection and prevention as well. All right. I know back in the day there was a saying, I know in IT, that if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. Right? Now, I would say if it is that you have other compensating controls in place to not update software that you know has vulnerabilities in it, then that's fine. However, if you don't have that in place, you need to be as aggressive as you can on your software updates and patching. That is very, very important, because that is how the exploits work. And usually it's not the newest, it's vulnerabilities that have updates came over them long ago that these persons exploit. All right, so now before I close, just from a Jamaican perspective, most persons know about what they term as the lottery scam happening in the western part of Jamaica, right? So lottery scam is basically persons calling persons overseas, telling them that they win the lottery, they must send them some money, etc., and then they pick up the money at some Western Union location, etc. Now, this is organized crime, and it's happening here in Jamaica, right? Over the past probably year or so, the authorities have been putting a dent in that activity, right? Now, just something for you to think about. What is going to happen, or what could possibly happen, when that well dries up for those individuals? They are somewhat tech savvy, right? They are very driven to make quick and easy money. So it could be a case where if that well dries up, then it's very easy for them to get into to this form of cybercrime. Because, as I said, it's crimeware as a service. You just need to buy the thing, know how to use it, and then you can be ciphering off our own money here in Jamaica. All right? And that's just my experience. Thank you.